Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Just a Guy on my lunch break. I had to run a couple of errands today, so I actually don't have a whole lot of time. I'm going to make this video maybe 15 minutes. Um, that may be laughable because I'm a very long-winded person, as you guys know. And I can just kind of take a topic and just keep rolling with it. So, uh, I'm going to try. That's the key word. That's the operative word here. Try to make it about 15 minutes. So, anyway, I hope everyone's doing well out there. I've been getting a lot of comments recently, folks kind of giving me updates on where they are. Had a guy reach out today saying that he started taking Kratom about 6 years ago, mainly to help with productivity in his business. And but he's at a point where he's kind of hooked on it and he wants to come off, but he's just not a person who can do the cold turkey type situation. And I am all too familiar with that. Cold turkey is not for everyone. And we've discussed that at length on this channel. And there's people who, oh man, it's going to hurt no matter what. Just do it. Man up. Grow some cojones, man. Get in there and do a cold turkey. Listen, nobody's saying that you couldn't do a cold turkey. No one's saying that it's impossible, but there's a reality, and that's one thing that a lot of people have the inability to see. And a lot of people just don't have the ability to be empathetic towards other people. I have that ability. And if you are a person who is an empath and is empathetic and has the ability to be empathetic towards other people, you can look at and see that, look, we're not all at the same place. We're not all at the same place with our Kratom use. We're not all at the same place with how long we've been taking it. We're not all at the same place with how much we've been taking it. We're not all at the same place at how, what our mental health and its stability or instability of our mental health is at ground zero, at baseline without Kratom. There's a lot of us out there that if we weren't taking Kratom, you'd be fucked. Your mental status would be in a bad place. You'd be depressed, anxious. There's people that are taking Kratom to help to curtail and curb those things about their own mental health, right? And of course, there are some people out there as well who are causing their own depression and anxiety by taking so much freaking Kratom on a daily basis that anytime you stop or anytime you try to lessen your use, you're going through the depression and anxiety, but it's self-inflicted, it's self-induced, right? Which I think a lot of that was going on with me because, I'm naturally just a pretty happy, motivated, uppity sort of guy, and always have been that way. And that is one of the traits that I admire in people. That's one of the traits that I admire in my wife. That's one of the traits that makes my wife one of the top salespeople in her area. The fact that she's uppity, she's always positive, she never means anyone any harm, and you can just tell that in her speech. She's always bubbly, and it's one of those things that makes her at the top of her field, right? And so I respect and admire that trait, that character trait, and that personality trait in people. And for that, I've always tried to be that way. And I think it's one of the reasons that I latched on to Kratom the way I did. I think it's one of the reasons that in my past I've latched on to opiates the way I have, and a lot of us are that way. I mean, you don't want to be the type of person that's just wow, 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 negative Nancy. I mean, freaking every time. You ever talk to one of those people? I have. One of those people is just like, you're sitting in there talking to them and you're like, dude, I mean, are you gonna walk out of the room and just go walk right in front of a 18-wheeler? Is it that bad? You know those people. You know what I'm talking about. We've all ran across them. People where you're just like, they talk like this and yeah and blah blah. You can hear it in the intonations and inflections in people's voice. Sometimes the depression, the low mood, that they just don't feel like they have any energy or even anything to live for. And the reasons that people become that way go deeper than you would really imagine, and really it's only those people who know what those reasons are. But I think a lot of people who latch on to opiate like substances are in general very happy, motivated people. And then, things will happen in life, certain traumas may happen in life that cause them to lose that. They might be in a bad relationship, or, someone just treats them poorly, ruins their self-confidence. And the next thing you know, they're depressed, they have lower mood, because life has just beat them down, right? And I think it's a lot of times people that go through something like that, they see that spark and that vigor and that bubble for life that they've had start to slowly diminish, and they start to see that light slowly dim. And then when they find something like an opiate that gives them that vigor for life back, that positive attitude back, I think that's why they embrace that and they latch on to that. Has been for me, for sure. And so where was I going with that? Hell, I don't know. I really don't know. It's just one of my rants, but you can discover that about yourself. Why is it that you started using something like kratom or some other type of opiate? And a lot of times we talk about the why of why do you want to quit? Why do you want to come off of it? We talk about that a lot, but a lot of times we don't talk about the why that you started taking it in the first place. The why of you being a person who, instead of just taking it and being like, oh, that was cool, and then never going back to it again, why for you it was one of those things where, oh, I just have to keep having this. I have to keep having this. And for me, I think it brought out in me a part of my personality that I felt like had kind of gotten lost or gotten suppressed, throughout just some things that happened to me in my life. And, don't get me wrong, I'm the first to admit that, I've been a pretty blessed person, I don't have any real trauma, I guess, to point to, like in my childhood or otherwise, that I really can point to and say, oh yeah, this is definitely the reason. Can you blame me? Can you blame me for turning to drugs? Look what I went through. I didn't have an abusive father, or an abusive drug addict mother who was out on the street shooting heroin and leaving me at home by myself unattended. I didn't have any of that. I had supportive family, family who was always there for me. I didn't come from a broken home. A lot of times that can be an indicator of people going through stress and not really having, and not only stress, but certain emotional traumas in their life. Some people go through physical traumas, whether they're physically abused, sexually abused, the emotional trauma with, being verbally abused all of their lives and talked down to. Well, you're not worth a damn, you can't do this, you're not worth a shit, you'll never amount to anything. There's people that go through stuff like that, so when I look at my life in retrospect, I gotta be honest, bro. I gotta be honest. Of course I've had some negative things happen to me in life. Who hasn't? But it's nothing in comparison to the type of trials and tribulations that a lot of other people have gone through. So for me, it's a little bit more difficult to find, I think, my why, as far as why I latched on to opiates as my drug of choice. Now, I did experience some bullying when I was young, and I definitely was quicker to to try, drugs, specifically alcohol, was the first thing I ever tried. I was definitely quicker to try that as a means of kind of impressing my same age or older counterparts. I have a brother who's 3.5 years older than me, so when I was in 7th, 8th grade, my brother was in 10th, 11th, 12th grade. When I was a freshman in high school, my brother was a senior. My brother and I were really close. And of course, my brother was drinking alcohol at that time, so I would hang out with my brother and his friends, or just even my brother. And we would be getting drunk together and stuff like that at a young age. And I also, especially in my 7th, 8th, 9th, well, not really my 10th, my 7th, 8th, 9th grade, I definitely experienced some bullying. And it's funny because people get bullied for different reasons, right? And I'm talking to somebody out here. There's definitely some people out there that have experienced that. That's a traumatic thing. People are like, oh, dude, that's it. There's people out here getting, beaten by their father every day and thrown down a flight of stairs by one of their family members, and that suffered that type of abuse. And you're sitting here talking about being bullied at school. Come on, bro. But, bro, when you're 12, 13, 14 years old, and something like that happens to you, and you're young and impressionable and you're inexperienced and you don't understand why these things are happening to you, it affects you in kind of a different way. And like I said, people get bullied for different reasons. People get bullied mainly because they're different. But listen, that difference can be something that sets them apart from others in a bad way, meaning people are saying, oh, you're less than me. But that bullying can also take place when somebody is set apart from the crowd in a good way, where the bullies feel like you're better than them. And that was the case for me, because when I got to be in 7th and 8th grade, I'm just gonna be honest, I was a cute kid. I was a handsome little kid. All the little girls liked me, but as a 12-year-old kid, I didn't know. I had of course, all my relatives and my aunts, when I would go to family functions and they hadn't seen me in a few years, or I would be at church and my parents would introduce me to a new person. Of course, I heard it all my life. Oh, what a handsome young man. What a handsome son you have, this and that. But it's one of those things when, that's my mom's friend who's 30 years my senior saying that. That's my uncle, saying what a handsome young man, or that's some random man that I met at one of my parents' jobs, or it was that sort of thing. And would get flirted with a little bit by some of the young girls. But it's one of those things, when I looked in the mirror at myself, I didn't really see that. Not at that age. I didn't really understand that I was different than everyone else in that way. In fact, I had the opposite sort of self-speech and self-talk going on. I always thought that others were better looking than me, or I would have friends that were smaller than me, skinnier than me, and they would have some article of clothing that I would like, and I would try their clothes on, and I couldn't even button the button. I was like, damn, am I fat? No, I wasn't fat, but I wasn't a little skinny, scrawny kid either. But when you don't have any life perspective and you're young and inexperienced like that, you don't really understand how you stack up against other same age peers and counterparts. And I got bullied because I was popular. I got bullied because these 8th grade boys saw this young 7th grader coming up in the middle school, and all the girls that they had a crush on for the whole previous year were wanting to know my name, wanting to know who I was, wanting to know who this young 12-year-old stud was coming into school, right? And so for me, that was something that when I began to get picked on, I was not a violent kid. I wasn't an aggressive kid. You know, I didn't fight. I didn't get in fights. And you know, when these older kids, especially when they were together, you know, 2 or 3 there together, and then one would come and start picking on me, and then they got 2 or 3 of their friends standing there as well. I mean, what was I gonna do? You know, I'm a little 12-year-old little innocent kid, you know. So for me, that was definitely, looking back on it, a traumatic experience. And then what happened is, you know, later on, a little later on, a year, 2 years, 3 years later, I actually got to know those kids a little bit. They stopped picking on me, and they started liking me. But I thought the reason they started liking me is because they saw how fucking crazy I was. You know, they saw how I was willing to go out with them on the weekend and drink beer, and I was willing to go out and, you know, one of them take their truck out and all of us ride in the back of the truck, and then we were able to, you know, they saw me being willing to take a baseball bat and knock over mailboxes and go and rip up road signs and, you know, take road signs out of the ground and throw them in the back of the truck and then take them back to the house. And they saw me being willing to do all of these things, like, man, he's crazy, man. This kid's crazy. But I thought that that's what I had to do to impress them and to get in good with them, because in my estimation, they didn't like me, right? And so as a kid, that's what I thought I had to do. And so that's kind of how I got into drugs, you know, alcohol, drinking, being willing to try and take different drugs, is because is partly, I think, because I was bullied the way I was in those young, impressionable ages. Now, is that an excuse? Is that a reason to stay locked into some sort of drug or drug use or drug addicted behavior now? No, of course not. I'm a grown man now. And now, as a grown man, I understand why those kids were bullying me. And it had nothing to do with me, because I never did anything to disrespect them or anything to cause them not to like me. And I just want to say, I want to throw into the mix that I have a wonderful father, and my father absolutely sat me down a couple of times and talked to me about why he felt like I was getting bullied. But it's also something where I was kind of ashamed of it. And it's not something that I came to my father and told him about every time I got bullied. And so it was one of those things where a lot of it, I just hid it from my family. I hid it from my loved ones and suppressed it. And really, my older brother knew more about it than anything. And I can't tell you how many times my older brother came to my rescue or approached some bully for me and was like, what? You know, and it's so funny because the bullies, I used to love seeing the faces of the bully when it was no longer, you know, a young, impressionable 14-year-old coming up to them. But I used to love seeing their faces when my older 18-year-old brother, who at that time was significantly bigger than me, significantly taller than me, he had hit his growth spurt, he was older than what my bullies were. The bullies were older than me and ganging up on me, but my brother was older than them. And again, my brother's not an aggressive, violent type of person to fight, but he was all about protecting his younger brother. And there was multiple times that my brother approached people that were bullying me, and I have watched multiple times those same bullies who acted so tough towards me literally act like they didn't see my brother standing there. Huh? What? You know, looking at the ceiling. I mean, there was one guy that was about, well, he was a year ahead of me, and he played on our football team, and he was a big kid. You know, he's like one of the linemen, and he probably outweighed me about 30 pounds. And he came through and bumped me one time between classes, and this guy had kind of started picking on me. And so anyway, you know, my brother finds out about it, and I tell my brother about it. Well, he's like, come with me, because it was in between my second and third period, and my brother walked me to my third period class so that he could approach this bully. And so my brother walks directly by this bully and bumps his shoulder like that. And I sat there and watched this bully kid who acted so tough towards me allow my brother to bump his shoulder like that. He acted like it didn't even happen. Acted like it didn't even happen. He didn't turn around and look at him. He didn't turn around and say anything. He didn't do anything. But he knew what it was about, and he knew why it was happening, because guess what? I was standing right there, 20 feet in front of him. I sat there and watched it happen. And plus, this kid knew who I was, and he knew who my brother was as well. Well, he had just learned who my brother was. But it's just interesting to see how that works with bullies. But I know it seems like this is going off the rails, but I guess my point is, and I need to wrap this up, my point is, what is your why? You know, what is it? What was it? What happened in your life? What things and events, whether trauma or you know, just unfortunate events that happened to you in your life, or it could have been a series of events. What is it that you can point to that says, yeah, that's probably a good reason. That's probably one of the main reasons that I latched onto drugs and alcohol. Everybody's got a reason. Everybody. And the thing about it is, these things that happen to, and a lot of these things have happened in childhood. You know, now there are people out there who they don't get into drugs and stuff like that until they're adults. You know, but the drug addict behavior is seeded within us a lot of times as a young child. Even though we may not be using drugs at that time, and we may just begin experimenting with them at that time, the insecurities that cause us to gravitate towards substance abuse oftentimes happen before the substance abuse ever starts, you know. And what is that for you? What is it for you? Comment down below. Let me know what it is. What is it that you went through that happened to you that you think caused you to gravitate towards substance abuse? For me, one of the main things was definitely bullying. There's another thing that happened to me, which I'm not going to get into today because it's something I need to kind of set up and be more specific about. Maybe I'll talk about that tomorrow. But what is it for you? Leave a comment down below. I would like to know, because these things have to be identified. You know, you have to address the root cause of why you gravitate to drugs, why you gravitate to substances, right? So anyway, haven't had Kratom Monday, Tuesday, haven't had any today. I won't take any. I probably won't take any till Saturday this week. So I'm planning just going a full 5 days, and then I'll probably take some this weekend. So that's kind of where I'm at. But anyway, love you guys. Hit that subscribe button if you would. I would really appreciate that. You know, I do this channel every day. I still have thoughts of, you know, I don't really want to become some, you know, authority on Kratom use or using it responsibly. Plus, you know, I don't know that there's necessarily a market for that, because a lot of the way people think is either you're going to use it or you're not going to use it. A lot of people feel like there is no using it responsibly. So I'm doing the channel for now. I don't know how long I'll continue doing the channel. There are times where I just feel like I just don't want to do this shit anymore, to be honest. You know, it's moving too damn slow for me. You know, if I had 2,000 subscribers already and 4,000 watch hours, and it was a possibility to monetize and stuff like, you know, maybe I would see more of a need for it. But I don't have time to do the thumbnails. I don't have time to do editing. I just don't have time to do all that stuff. So obviously there are some people out there that like it and are watching it every day, and it's you guys that I keep coming back for. And I am appreciative of your continued support for sure. But don't be shocked if one day soon I'm just like, okay guys, that's it, delete, and I delete the account. I've already considered it, to be honest with you, and there's a couple of times I actually even looked up online, how do you just completely delete the YouTube account? I never have gotten to the final answer yet, but it's a possibility I may do that. I will not do it without leaving some sort of farewell video and being like, okay guys, this is gonna be my last video for just a guy on my lunch break. And what I may do at that point is just start another channel where I can just talk about anything, you know, because I run out of things to talk about with Kratom use. You know, I mean, how long can I sit here and say, okay, I'm not taking Kratom today, not taking Kratom tomorrow, probably won't take Kratom till this weekend, or I'm off of it, or I'm on it, or what, you know, it becomes tough sometimes thinking off the top of my head what kind of things to talk about regarding this. But anyway, always here for you guys. I will leave a farewell video before that ever happens to make sure that any of you guys who still want to stay in contact with me can do so, because a lot of you out there I've really developed a liking for, and you just seem like really, really awesome people, and I appreciate that. I appreciate meeting those sort of genuine, you know, thankful, grateful sort of people in life, and the encouraging type of people. I'm just really appreciative of meeting folks like that. Even though we've never met in person, you know, I get the vibe from a lot of you guys that you're just freaking good people, and I love that because I'm good people too. And you know, it takes one to know one. So anyway, love you guys. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Might as well build the subscription base as much as I can while I'm doing the channel, and like the video as well, and comment down below. All right, love you guys. I'll see you next time. All right, peace.